Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Hello, you've made it to the Eugene Cannabis TV show. We've got some information for you here, various news stories from all over the state, or more likely over the United States, but I do have one from Washington, so this is getting pretty close to home. Titled, Stop Prosecuting for Pot, ? And this is really exciting. A group of Tacoma residents, led by a local medical marijuana advocate, is pursuing a city ballot initiative that seeks to make cannabis-related offenses the lowest priority of the city of Tacoma. The proposed measure submitted to the city clerk's office this week received a ballot title Friday that triggers a 5-day waiting period before supporters of the proposed initiative can begin legally collecting signatures to get it qualified for November's general election ballot. So this is, let's see, they appear to need about 4,000 signatures. Again, this is for a Tacoma City measure, the reason for that low number of signatures. But it's interesting that they try that, and Seattle did that a couple years ago. I understand it's working quite well, and it's a good way to move. We talked about doing that for a Lane County initiative a number of years ago, but the effort fell through. But it's one way the people that are doing that is kind of attacking it from the other end. Instead of legalizing, we're going at the other end, is trying to stop at least slow down the enforcement of these unjust laws. And here's something out of California, something we all know it happens, and this is proving it right here. 76 San Francisco pot cases are tossed as video contradicts the police. He said a San Francisco judge dismissed marijuana trafficking allegations Wednesday after finding a videotape contradicted officers' account of a drug search at a suspect's Richmond district apartment. In the latest case, in which video appeared to undermine police testimony, Senior Court Judge Geraldo Sandoval issued his dismissal order after a 3-day preliminary hearing on drug dealing charges lodged against McLaren Wetzel, 23, stemming from a March 1st police search and seizure of 4 pounds of marijuana. Sandoval cited inconsistencies in the police accounts with the videotape. The case has strong similarities to the scandal unfolding against 8 Southern Station officers who have been reassigned from a plainclothes detail after videos appeared to contradict their accounts of several drug raids in a Tenderloin single-room occupancy hotel. So far, the scandal has triggered dismissal of 76 cases, as well as an ongoing FBI probe. So anyway, this is the kind of thing that we know happens. We've heard stories about it, and just like the false drug tests, or false hits by canines, is what I'm trying to say. That's another problem. They're learning that a lot of times the handler can actually trigger it, either consciously or unconsciously, can trigger a response, and then the person gets searched, and anyway, it can go bad. This is interesting. This is a case that comes up now and then, and a federal judge gives a pot grower permission to use medical marijuana on probation. I've seen people turn down trying to do this, and here's one that went the other way, so that's good to hear. Sacramento, California, it was a mix of good and bad news for medical marijuana grower Michael Lombardo in federal court yesterday. The good news is that he wasn't ordered directly to prison. The bad news is that he's scheduled to go there in 6 weeks. The good news is that he was able to avoid the 5-year minimum sentence that's the usual punishment for growing over 100 marijuana plants. The bad news is that he is still sentenced to a year and a day in prison. But for now, it appears that the best news of all is that he'll be allowed to use medical marijuana when he gets out. After several long pauses and many signs of internal conflict, Judge Lawrence Carlton decided yesterday that state law, not federal law, shall apply in determining the legality of Lombardo's substance use while on supervised release. The defendant shall not illegally possess controlled substances, Judge Carlton said while listing Lombardo's probation conditions. He then added, the legality in these circumstances applies to state law. So that's good news. At least there's some recognition that the person has rights even when they're convicted of another crime. This next story is something that I've been aware of quite some time, and this is just another angle on it. Medical marijuana market is huge and growing, investor report finds. Medical marijuana is a big business and only getting bigger, according to a new study studied by a financial analysis firm. The size of the U.S. medical marijuana market is $1.7 billion, and that figure is likely to increase in coming years, according to a report from Sea Change Strategy, LLC, an independent financial firm. An executive summary of the report, The State of the Medical Marijuana Markets 2011, is available at medicalmarijuanamarkets.com. I've said for years that there's a lot of money in medical marijuana, just about anywhere you look at it, and not only the black market aspect of it, which there's always going to be some, but it's like Measure 74. A lot of people I heard the feedback was, well, I didn't vote for Measure 74 because somebody's just going to go make some money, is out to make money. Well, Measure 74 would have given patients another access for them to get their medicine, but unfortunately we had people that misunderstood it or just simply were in the dark, I guess. But anyway, the point is that people are making money now, and it's going to, so that's really kind of an empty argument. But there's actually businesses or insurance companies now that are actually specializing in insurance for growers, for patients. There's known insurance companies that have made payments for being burglarized and losing their medicine. So it's slowly, the pendulum is swinging. It says here, we predict that the current market will double in the next 5 years, he said in a Wednesday conference call. He estimates the size of the medical marijuana market will reach $8.9 billion by 2016. So, and then our friend Willie Nelson, if you remember, this is his latest bust. This is concerning that. It says, prosecutor wanted Willie to sing as part of a plot plea. I almost felt bad about cracking jokes after Willie Nelson's marijuana bust in Hudspeth County last year, but it turns out the prosecutor in the case is the biggest joke of all. Sentencing Law and Policy points to a story from Fox News declaring, the prosecutor in Willie Nelson's marijuana possession case said the country music legend could get off with just a fine if he agrees to sing one of his songs in court. Nelson, 77, was busted at a Border Patrol checkpoint in Sierra Blanca, Texas, en route to Austin on November 25th last year. He was arrested but released when he posted $2,500 bond at Hudspeth County Jail. The prosecutor in the case said he was willing to let Nelson off with a $100 fine if Nelson performed his song Blue Eyes Smiling in the Rain in the courtroom. The prosecutor reportedly said the song would count as Nelson's community service. If Nelson chooses not to accept the prosecutor's offer, he could face a maximum of 120 days in jail and a $2,000 fine if convicted when he appears in court at a date yet to be decided. The judge said that's not happening and later characterized the offer as a joke. But Nelson deserves a mistrial and dismissal charges over that sort of garbage. I don't often agree with SLNP Comrade Bill Otis, but he was on spot when he declared, I have no idea if the prosecution is frivolous, but I'm sure the prosecutor is community service indeed. The prosecutor wants to haul Nelson into court more for his celebrity than his offense. Indeed, apparently simply for his own enjoyment. It wouldn't surprise me if the same was true of officers who busted him in the first place. So, it's amazing to see how that's going to turn out, but our friend Willie Nelson is in the breach again, so to speak. I'm sure he'll come out all right, though. Again, medical marijuana. The medical marijuana lobbying debuts in D.C. The $1.7 billion medical marijuana industry made its lobbying debut in Washington on Wednesday with its official trade association launching an effort for changes in federal tax law that would put medical purveyors on equal footing with fully legitimate businesses. From an underground movement to a legal business in California, 14 other states, and Washington, D.C., medical marijuana is emerging as a full-fledged commercial sector with sales that might soon rival those of Viagra, advocates say. We simply feel that our industry should be treated like any other legitimate industry, said Aaron Smith, director of the National Cannabis Industry Association. He spoke at a news conference kicking off the association's last day of lobbying, which included meetings with lawmakers on Capitol Hill. See, California has 76% of the nation's medical marijuana market and issued 51,550 medical marijuana cards in the last 5 years. So it's growing. State of Oregon, I've gotten it's 38,000, I think it is at this point, and growing. So medical marijuana law back on the other end of the coast, as we used to say, on the right coast. We live on the left coast. This is on the right coast. It says, over the past decade, New England has quietly emerged as a center of marijuana reform. Outside of the West, no other region of the country has matched the advances of that historic corner of America bounded by New York, Canada, and the North Pacific. When New England comes to mind, people think of the leaves turning in the fall, the wild and rocky Maine seacoast, Vermont's Green Mountains, or Boston and its historic role in the American Revolution. But given what the region has accomplished in terms of marijuana policy, perhaps it's better to think of it as an ongoing social experiment. And the question to ask is, why New England? New England consists of 6 states: Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont, with a combined population of 14.4 million. It is dominated by mega population of Boston, whose 7.4 million residents make up over half the region's residents. But all 6 states combined still contain fewer people than Florida, New York, Texas, or California. Of course, of these 6 states, half have already passed medical marijuana laws. So it's continually growing, and it goes on to talk about the East Coast and why it's turning that way. Another quick thing I want to read about, the National Institutes of Cancer website recognizes cancer-killing properties of cannabinoids. Bethesda, Maryland, the website of the National Cancer Institute, a component of the United States National Institutes of Health, has acknowledged the cancer-fighting properties of marijuana's active components, but stopped short of recognizing the oncologist may recommend cannabis as an anti-proliferative treatment therapy. The agency last week added a new section to its cancer.gov website to address the issue of marijuana and cancer. The section titled Cannabis and Cannabinoids provides an overview of the use of cannabis and its components as a treatment for people with cancer-related symptoms caused by the disease itself or its treatment. The website states that the preclinical trials have shown that marijuana's active compounds may selectively target and inhibit cancer cell growth. Cannabinoids may cause anti-tumor effects by various mechanisms, including induction of cell death, inhibition of cell growth, and inhibition of tumor angiogenesis and metastasis. The state reads, cannabinoid appears to kill tumor cells but do not affect their non-transformed counterparts and may even protect them from cell death. So they've made some major changes, so there's some concessions that marijuana does have some cancer-killing properties. So continuing evidence, which of course continues to be ignored by those in charge, it seems, but we keep plodding forward. So I hope you enjoyed the news and hope there was something there to help you. We wanted to tell you that Octa 2012 is up and gathering signatures. You'll be seeing the initiative more and more as time progresses. We'll be have the booth at Saturday Market probably 2 weeks from today. The first Saturday Market was too cold and wet for this guy, and I'm tied up for the one after that. But after that, we should be there at Saturday Market. So come by and see. You can pick up our flyers, just say no, and sign the legalization initiative, and hopefully you'll pick up a couple of sheets and go out and gather signatures yourself. The object, or not the object, but the goal is to get it on the ballot by September so that we can concentrate the next year on promoting it and getting the people to vote for it. So that's OCTA, Oregon Cannabis Taxation Act 2012. And that's for 21 and above. We legalize the use of cannabis for all people. Also permits the growing of hemp in this too. So Appreciate it. If you have need more information about anything we talked about, send an email through the supplied email address you see on your screen. And it's been a great time, and we'll see you next time with more news. Thank you.
Are you tired of following all the rules? Ready to let loose? Have a little fun? Sounds like you need to. Get high. And with Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, you can. Narcomex values your business. That's why we're your #1 supplier of drugs, and you're our #1 consumer. These billions can't be wrong. We work hard for your business and have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 Mexican police and 2 journalists just to keep you high with that very joint. Why, our commitment to keeping you supplied has killed over 17,000 people right next door. Traffickers, soldiers, journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations. Because if you smoke enough at home, you don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. Narcomex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
Today, we are breaking new ground on one of the hottest debates in America, medical marijuana. Should buying it be as simple as flashing this card? This is a license to buy medical marijuana, and it can be shockingly easy to get. Some people wonder, how can medical marijuana be legal in 15 states already? Others wonder, why isn't it legal everywhere? We are surrounded by passionate opinions on both sides. Today you're going to meet people who say they can't live without medical marijuana, doctors who prescribe it, and people who say it's dangerous to your body and mind. Who's right? You won't look at this debate the same way again.
The medical use of marijuana goes back at least 200 years in this country. In fact, up until the late 1930s, marijuana was sold in pharmacies to treat pain, inflammation, and muscle spasms. But in 1970, the U.S. government created the Controlled Substance Act, which classified marijuana as a Schedule I narcotic. As a Schedule I narcotic, cannabis, marijuana's botanical name, is considered to be a harmful drug with no accepted medical use. Which means not only is it illegal for recreational use, it's now nearly impossible for doctors and scientists to explore its potential medical benefits. But over the last 2 decades, doctors and patients have passionately challenged this classification. Many in the medical community believe marijuana could be a powerful tool, alleviating the symptoms of cancer, AIDS, multiple sclerosis, arthritis, glaucoma, and migraines. Today, 15 states and Washington, D.C. have legalized medical marijuana. 12 more have pending legislation. But those against legalization argue there are FDA-approved drugs that can get the same results. And they fear dispensaries, shops that sell medical marijuana, could not only give access to anyone who wants the drug, but potentially pop up near schools and other sensitive locations. So who has it right? Is marijuana a miracle medication or a high-risk public health hazard?
So how many here think the federal government should legalize medical marijuana? Raise your hands if you can. Yeah, some cheers, but you know, it's actually pretty close to the national average, which is about 3/4 of us think it ought to be legalized if it's for medicinal purposes. It's a very different number if you take that away. Now, here's how medical marijuana could affect the brain and the body. And patients who use it say it works better and in ways that no other medicine works for them. I've got a little animation that'll help bring this home. So let's say you're having aches and pains. It could be in your belly, in your limbs, in your legs. It doesn't frankly matter. When you smoke marijuana, you inhale its gases. Those gases go into your lungs and they fill your lungs. And when they fill your lungs, they pass a chemical called THC, those little green dots, into the bloodstream, which then is passed throughout the body, getting all kinds of places. Let's look into the nervous system, where so many of the aches and pains are located. And just quickly reminding you that nerves talk to each other. When they do that, they release chemicals, those little pink balls come across, and they allow one nerve to talk to another to send signals of pain. What marijuana does, that THC chemical is able to get into those areas where the nerves talk. And these little green balls literally plug up the connectors between the nerves. So they slow down or inhibit or completely stop the ability of nerves to talk to each other and transmit pain, and that brings you relief. So here's the big question. What's it like to live with a kind of pain that patients say is only relieved by a drug they cannot easily get? Talk show host Montel Williams knows firsthand.
Montel Williams is an authentic American success story. He grew up on the rough side of Baltimore, then rose to become an Emmy award-winning talk show host, best-selling author, and entrepreneur. But 12 years ago, his life changed dramatically when Williams was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
I have been living with neuropathic pain in my lower extremities, my face and my side, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, period. Doesn't go away.
Williams decided to use his celebrity to launch a very public crusade to find a cure for MS and legalize medical marijuana, a treatment he says has saved him from the crippling effects of his disease.
The only thing that has kept me a contributing member of the society for the last 10 years is that I've used marijuana every single day.
His advocacy for medical marijuana has put Williams in the spotlight and under the scrutiny of the law. In January, Williams was arrested at the Milwaukee airport and later fined for possessing a pipe used for smoking marijuana. But his arrest has not silenced him.
Marijuana may not work for everyone, but what it has done for me is it's given me my life back. A life like everybody else.
Please welcome Montel Williams. He is a very inspirational man, and I've seen firsthand the pain that you endure all the time that you're awake, and probably even when you're asleep. What's it like to feel like a patient, but to be treated like a criminal when you try to help yourself?
See, what's really kind of crazy about this is that, you know, I spent 22 years in the United States military in two branches of our service, the Marine Corps and the Navy, supporting and defending this Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I just came back from Afghanistan 2 weeks ago. Went over and visited our troops there in the battlefield to make sure that somebody recognized that we still remember them. So, you know, I feel like this. If I'm defending this Constitution for all of us, why do I not have the right to the same rights that this government has given other people? Yeah. Because I want to start right at the beginning with this. Today, thank you. You're doing something today that nobody's attempted to do, and that's tell the truth. Let's do that today, because I say this only to say to you that our federal government for the last 22 years has been distributing marijuana in a special program through the University of Mississippi. Started with 20 patients. It's now down to 4 that are still alive. 16 of them have passed away. Every 17th of the month, our government sends out a canister of marijuana that we grow. Your taxpayer dollars pay for. So when you say, what does it feel like to be a criminal? I feel like if I put my life on the line and our government says it's okay to give it to 4 people, how dare you look me in the face and tell me I don't have a right to be pain-free? So, come on, guys. You know, I'm not asking for anything special.
Yeah. All right, let me just explain to everybody real quick what MS is. We're on the same page. Multiple sclerosis is when your immune system goes crazy, it goes haywire. Yes. And instead of protecting you against foreign invaders, which you've done for our nation, you know, viruses and bacteria, it begins to attack your own cells, and it causes that intense pain that you have all the time. Talk to me a little bit about this, because this to me is the crux of the issue. What does medical use of marijuana do for you that other drugs cannot do?
If we just pay attention to the science and the truth, since I started using marijuana every day, you can check my MRIs. I've not had one additional plaque form in my brain. Now, wait a second. I am off. Oh, that's a fact, Dr. Oz. That is a fact.
And that's crazy.
You can take a look at the science, and I have been willing to put myself and my MRIs up in front of any medical board in the country. I've been seen by doctors at the Nobel Institute. For the longest time, my lead doctor for MS was 4 years ago signatory to the Nobel Peace Prize for Neurology, Dr. Thomas Olson. I've seen my Dr. Weiner out of Harvard. I've seen my Dr. Calabrese at Johns Hopkins. All of these doctors know that this has been my choice. Why? Because, boss, I've been down the path. How about 7, 8 Oxycontins a day? I was on so many opiums that I stopped going to the bathroom. My kidneys started acting up. It was time to say enough. I found something that keeps me a contributing member of this society, a taxpaying member of this society, and I am not robbing any banks. And if we just tell the truth, this is all I want to do. The most recent study just came out from the University of San Diego this year that espoused and proved, number one, that this is one of the lead choices that a doctor should have when it comes to an illness like mine. So, come on, I'd like to ask the President of the United States today, how dare you sign an appropriations bill every year to pay to continue to research marijuana at the University of Mississippi and send it out to other people and look me in the face after I put I'm in the uniform. He never wore one. So I put my life on the line for this country.
All right, so what Montel's asking to do, you said it several times, to tell the truth. We want to bring some clarity to this issue. That's the purpose of the show today. So here's the dilemma. 2 of the leading medical groups in America have both stated that marijuana may be helpful as a medicine. So Montel is right. And they're saying it should be studied. But current federal law makes it darn hard, really hard, to make that happen. Because we can't study because it's not legal. So what are we going to do? We'll be right back.